A grim milestone for the U.S. More than 500,000 people have died from COVID-19 complications since the start of the pandemic, and nearly 50,000 of those deaths have happened here in California. But there is a new state law that provides some compensation for victims' families left behind to deal with the financial burden of losing a loved one.
And we're talking about what could be a significant amount of money. Here's NBC4's Cádiz Klemack.
My husband passed away from COVID complications on January 1st.
Lupita Hernandez Ramos looks at these photos now with a different view.
We didn't think that it would affect us to this extent, and yet it did.
Her husband, Cesar Ramos, died New Year's Day, leaving her and their 4 kids behind.
My husband had no pre-existing conditions, 37-year-old healthy man, and yet we're now, kind of left with the struggle of finances and things like that. And it's definitely not something that you should have to go through alone.
They would have had no idea.
Matt Moore is a legal analyst for an LA law firm that's helping families navigate the post-COVID world of a lost loved one.
I can't tell you how many times I'm scrolling on Facebook, on Instagram, and I'm seeing people posting GoFundMe campaigns where they're trying to raise some money just to bury the person and then just try to make ends meet. People just have no idea.
He's referring to a California law Governor Gavin Newsom signed in September, expanding workers' compensation benefits to victims of COVID. It includes employer-paid funeral expenses, payments to dependents, and a weekly stipend for victims' children until they turn 18.
It's very much in favor of the deceased and the family and of the injured workers.
Morris says the law puts the burden of proof on the employer, meaning if a victim of COVID worked within 14 days of their diagnosis, it's presumed they got sick on the job, unless the employer can prove otherwise. Rosa Mejia says her husband was the sole provider to pay the rent and all the bills. Gilberto Mejia worked as a painter for an auto body company when she says he came home with COVID.
Él fue el que nos trajo el contagio porque él fue el que enfermó primero.
He brought the virus home, she says, and infected the whole family. He died in December.
His employer didn't mention it. I didn't have any of that information when I last spoke with them.
Cesar worked for a medical supply company, and his widow says no one explained the benefits until she started asking questions. The state law has a 1-year statute of limitations, though, meaning families have until 1 year from the time of death to file any claim. From Lakewood, Cádiz Klemack, NBC4 News.